They say clutter is just delayed decisions, and in most rooms, around 80% of what's taking up space is stuff we don't even use. You've probably heard it before. Just organize it and you'll be fine. But what if you've already tried? What if you've been tidying, folding, rearranging, and by the end of the day, your space still feels chaotic? This video is for that kind of day. The kind where you're doing your best, but your home doesn't feel like it's helping. Today, I'll share 10 small organizing habits that gently changed everything for me. No big cleanouts, just simple shifts that make your room feel calmer. These habits are light, realistic, and made to fit into real life, not just Pinterest boards. By the end of this video, you'll know how to stay ahead of the mess without burning out, and finally feel like your space is on your side again. Before we begin, I'd love to know in the comments, what's one thing in your room you've been keeping but never use? Sometimes just noticing it is where the shift begins. Let's start with something really simple, but I promise this one shift made a big difference for me. You know those days where everything in your room feels like it's blending into one big mess and you just stare at it unsure where to begin? I've had so many days like that. And for a long time, I'd do what most of us do, dive in and try to organize everything at once. But it never really lasted. Now I do things differently. I didn't clean first. I sort. Here's how I break it down and what I do with each type of item. Group 1 is what I've used recently, say in the last week or so. These are my daily use items, a go-to pair of scissors, the charger I grab every night, and the notebook I write in. These stay close and easy to access right where I naturally use them. Group 2 is the maybe stuff. Not in use lately, but I have a feeling I might need it. For these, I do a little trick. I place them in a bag or box, label it, and tuck it somewhere out of sight. I set a reminder for a month. If I don't go looking for it by then, I know it's safe to let go. Group 3 is the forgotten thing stuff. I honestly didn't even remember I had. That's usually my cue that it's not adding value to my space. I try to let these go without pressure or guilt. It's just stuff that's done its time. Group 4 is for broken or unusable items. Things I keep saying I'll fix, but it's been over a year, like a drawer handle that's still in a bag or headphones that only work in one ear. If I'm not going to deal with it this week, I will thank it and release it. Letting those things go frees up more space than you'd expect. So if your brain's saying I don't even know where to begin, this is one of the gentlest entry points. Don't clean yet. Just sort. See what's actually there. No judgment, no pressure. And if you're wondering what comes next, how to actually let go of what's no longer serving you, and how to stop organizing things that don't need to stay, we'll talk about that in the next video. We'll cover what's worth keeping, what's ready to be released, and how to finally stop circling the same clutter month after month. But for now, let's move into the second habit. The second habit I want to share is this, and it matters more than most people realize. Declutter first before you organize anything. I want to pause here for a second because this confused me for a long time too. I used to think decluttering was organizing, but they're actually two very different steps. Decluttering is about making decisions. It's asking yourself what no longer needs to be in your space, the things you don't reach for, don't enjoy, or don't have a real role in your life anymore. Organizing comes later. That's simply about arranging what's left in a way that makes sense and is easy to live with. What I used to do, and I think many of us do this, was skip straight to organizing. I'd line things up neatly, fold everything perfectly, buy bins and baskets, but I was still keeping too much. The result? My space looked good for a moment, but it never stayed that way. I was organizing clutter instead of removing it. Now I slow down. I go through one area at a time and ask simple questions. Do I actually use this? Would I notice if this was gone? If the answer is no, it gets set aside. Once that extra layer is gone, organizing what remains feels completely different. Lighter, clearer. And most of the time, I realize I don't even need the extra storage I thought I did. So if organizing has never really worked for you, it might not be a skill issue. You might just be trying to organize too much. Try decluttering first, even a small area, and notice how much easier everything else becomes. The third habit is to keep things light literally. This sounds minor, but it changed how willing I am to take care of my space. For a long time, I didn't notice how much physical weight affected my habits. I had a bulky vacuum I avoided using because it was annoying to drag out. A stack of thick glass containers I kept putting off washing because they felt heavy and awkward. Small things. But when something feels inconvenient, we naturally delay it. And delayed tasks quietly turn into clutter. So I started paying attention. I chose items that were easier to lift clean and put away. I kept everyday tools that didn't feel like work to use. I let go of furniture that made cleaning feel like a chore instead of a quick reset. This wasn't about minimalism or style. It was about reducing friction in daily life. Now, when I decide what stays, I ask myself, is this easy enough that I won't avoid it? Because avoidance doesn't look dramatic. It just looks like piles forming over time. Keeping things light doesn't mean fragile or boring. It simply means choosing items that support your energy instead of draining it. That's the third habit, keep it light. When your things feel lighter, taking care of your space requires less effort, and that makes consistency possible. The fourth habit is to create storage using what you already own. I used to believe I couldn't organize properly without buying something new, the right bin, the right shelf, the right system. But some of the most effective storage solutions I've used came from items I already had at home. I remember feeling overwhelmed by a cluttered entryway table. Instead of shopping, I grabbed an unused tote bag from the closet and placed it underneath. Gloves, hats, and mail finally had a place, and the surface cleared instantly. Since then, I've gotten creative. I use sturdy shopping bags to hold cleaning supplies. Old containers become drawer dividers. A shallow box turns into a charging station. None of it is perfect, but all of it works. I also started paying attention to overlooked spaces. Under the bed, inside benches, the bottom shelf of closets. These areas quietly hold a lot without demanding visual attention. So if you feel stuck because you think you need to buy something, first pause. Look around. Use what's already there. Your storage doesn't need to be beautiful. It just needs to be functional for you. The fifth habit is to give everything a home. This one sounds obvious, but it's often the missing piece. Mess doesn't usually happen when we take things out. It happens when we don't know where to put them back. Items without a home tend to wander from table to chair to countertop, and suddenly the room feels messy again. I used to have these constant in-between items everywhere. Notebooks, sunglasses, random cables, lip balm. I kept cleaning the same surfaces, but nothing changed. I wasn't messy, my things just didn't belong anywhere. Now, whenever I declutter or bring something new in, I ask one question: where does this live? If I don't have an answer, I find one, even if it's simple. What helped most was starting with the things I use every day. My keys, my bag, my water bottle. I placed them close to where I naturally reached for them. Once that decision was made, putting things away stopped feeling like a task. Giving everything a home doesn't mean labels or color-coded systems. It simply means removing the daily decision of where something should go. When that question is answered, once your space becomes much easier to maintain. The sixth habit is to use open storage whenever you can. For a long time, I believed a tidy space meant hiding everything behind closed doors, drawers, bins with lids, boxes you had to unstack just to reach what you need. And sure, it looked clean at first glance, but in reality, I stopped putting things away. If something required 3 steps, open, pull, lift, I'd skip it. Not intentionally, I just set things down for now, and for now became everywhere. Eventually, little piles would build up on the bed, the chairs, the counters. Not because I was messy, but because my storage system was working against my actual habits. So I started changing it. I swapped out closed containers for open ones, especially for daily use stuff. A small tray for my skincare, an open bin for cozy socks, a basket near the door for keys and earbuds, hooks instead of drawers for jackets and bags. The less effort it took, the more likely I was to use it. And I noticed something else when my storage was open. I actually saw what I owned. That meant fewer duplicates, fewer. Where did I put that moments and more intentional choices about what stayed? I used to worry. Open storage would look cluttered. But once I'd already decluttered and kept only what I use, it actually had the opposite effect. It made the space feel more breathable, more functional, more lived in a good way. Open storage isn't about putting your whole life on display. It's about reducing friction. It's about making it easy to put things away so it becomes automatic. The seventh habit is something I've come to rely on: the 30% rule for storage. It's simple, but it shifted how I organize everything: drawers, shelves, cabinets. Here's how it works. Whenever you set up a storage space, aim to leave about 30% of it empty. For years, I thought empty space was wasted space. If I had a drawer, I filled it. If I had a shelf, I packed it tight. Things looked organized on the surface, neatly lined up, everything in place. But the moment I added even one new thing, the whole setup stopped working. Now I give everything a little breathing room. That extra 30% makes it easier to see what's there, grab what I need, and most importantly, put things away without a struggle. It also gives me flexibility. If my routine shifts or I bring in something new, I'm not stuck reorganizing the whole system. There's space for change built in. This habit has helped the most in places that fill up quickly, like the kitchen drawer I open 10 times a day, or the cabinet under the bathroom sink. They don't feel stuffed anymore. They just feel calm. So if your storage always feels like it's bursting at the seams, try this. Don't aim for full. Aim for room to grow. Because when your stuff isn't crammed in, your space feels more peaceful and a lot more manageable. The eighth habit is something I've slowly fallen in love with: the 70% rule for surfaces. Here's what it means. Try to keep about 70% of any flat surface clear: countertops, nightstands, tables, dressers. Just leave a little more open space than you think you need. I used to cover every flat surface with something. A tray here, a few candles there, a pile of mail that I meant to deal with later. It didn't always look messy, but it made the room feel full, visually busy. And once a few things landed, more always followed until the surface felt too overwhelming to even start clearing. Now I try to keep surfaces mostly clear. Not perfect, just open enough that the room feels light. When I walk into the kitchen and the counter's clean, I want to cook. When my desk has space, I actually sit down and focus. When my nightstand holds just a book, a lamp, and a glass of water, it doesn't ask anything from me. It feels like rest. This isn't about minimalism or bare surfaces. It's about creating a visual breathing room, a place your eyes and your mind can relax. You don't have to overhaul everything at once. Just pick one surface you use every day. Clear it, then try keeping it 70% empty for a few days. You might be surprised how much lighter your home and your head begins to feel. The ninth habit is small, but it's been a game changer for my mornings: 5 minutes of light cleaning right after I wake up. This didn't come from a cleaning book or productivity tip. It came from waking up one day, looking around, and feeling instantly overwhelmed. The room wasn't a disaster, but it had just enough off a few things out of place, a counter that needed wiping to make me want to crawl back under the covers. So I set a timer for 5 minutes. No plan. I just started resetting what I could. Put away a few things, fluffed the pillows, wiped the table. That was it. But somehow the whole energy of the room shifted, and so did mine. Since then, it's become a quiet ritual: 5 minutes, no pressure. I don't clean the whole room. I just give it a gentle nudge in the right direction. And what I've noticed is that when the day starts with a small win, A room that feels just a little bit better the rest of the day flows more easily. I lose fewer things. I feel less behind. I don't walk into the kitchen already tense. Some mornings all I do is make the bed and put my mug in the sink. Other days I do a little more, but I never skip it, because 5 minutes isn't much, and that's what makes it work. The 10th habit is one of my favorites, and it's how I end almost every day: let everything go home at night. There was a time when I treated evenings like I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'd head to bed with laundry on the floor, dishes in the sink, and a half-finished mess waiting for me the next morning. But that kind of morning where the mess is the first thing you see, it doesn't feel good. It feels like you're already behind. So now before bed, I take 10 to 15 minutes to quietly reset the space. I'm not deep cleaning. I'm not organizing. I'm just letting things return to their spot. Shoes by the door, blanket folded, remote back in the basket, cup in the sink, phone charger in place. It's become a soft little ritual, a signal to myself that the day is done, that I've closed the loop. And in the morning, I wake up to a space that feels ready instead of one that feels like it's waiting for me to catch up. This habit has helped the most on stressful weeks or when my brain feels full. Because it's not about a perfect house. It's about making tomorrow just a little bit easier, tonight. So that's the final habit: let everything go home. It's quiet, it's small, and it makes a difference that lingers long after the lights are off. And that's our list: 10 small habits that don't require a lifestyle overhaul. Just quiet shifts that can help your space feel more manageable even on the busiest days. You don't need to do everything at once. Start with one that feels doable. Let it settle in. Sometimes the smallest change, a cleared corner, a 5-minute reset, is what starts to shift the whole energy of a room. And if you've ever wondered how to keep your space feeling calm without constantly catching up or resetting from scratch, that's exactly what we'll explore in the next video. I'll share a few daily rhythms that make tidiness feel natural, not like another task. So if that sounds like something you need, go ahead and like this video, share it with someone who might feel overwhelmed too, and hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll meet you back here soon.